Hi, everybody. It's Michelle Hill, your legacy builder at Winning Proof, and I am here with another episode of Winning Proof Unscripted. Today, I have a very special guest, Lucille Maddalena, and she has a really interesting story and some really good analogies with business and sled dog expeditions or dog sled expeditions. I'll get that right later. Uh, so I want to read Lucille's bio, and then we'll just jump right into the conversation. Lucille is described as a coach, author, speaker, and trailblazer with a doctorate in education and organizational dynamics. She began her graduate education as the first woman accepted into the Rutgers University Labor Studies program, and has continued to break barriers for women and men during her career. While a doctoral candidate, she visited job sites, recognizing the need for people moving from blue-collar careers. To support their success, Lucy created a transition to management seminar, pioneering its acceptance that enabled her to establish her business as Morris Business Group, Inc. Don't forget the ink.
That's right.
She's the author of Moving On By, Harnessing My Sled Dog Team. I'm sorry, Harnessing My Sled Dog's Team's Instinct to Win. Okay. And I'm going to add this because we'll, talk a little bit about this later. With 40 years of marriage and the joys of grandchildren, her husband and her share a mutual respect for each other's careers and a deep devotion to family. So after all that, welcome, Lucille.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. Well, we'll just jump right in to tell the viewers a little bit about your journey from, your doctoral program to this dog sled thing. What is that all about?
Well, they both started about the same time. Scholarship to be the first woman to enter the labor studies program at Rutgers University, a fantastic program, which introduced me to labor. With people working in all fields, went out to labor sites, really got down and understood what it takes to hold a full-time job, what the world of commerce is all about. So it was eye-opening for what was I at the time, 20-year-old, to really see the world from that perspective. So it was a great start. I did get married, and I married a city boy, and I'm a country girl. And while I was going to graduate school, I was also working in my business, and we needed some relaxation. So my husband and I tried walking our dogs, our one dog, and it was fun. And we went and did a little bit of on trails and things. And I wanted my own dog, and he wanted his own dog. So we thought we'd get our second. Have you ever been dog shopping? It's really hard, especially when you find a brother and a sister and you just can't separate them. So we wound up taking two home, which means we have three dogs. Well, there are two of us and three big dogs. And if you've ever tried to walk three big dogs, you get pulled because they want to run. They have so much. Very snowy community. And what people did there is they got a sled and they hooked it to the dogs, and they got together in groups and clubs and learned the sport of dog sledding and had a good time with their families out in the trails and compete against each other and learn from each other and really train the dogs. So that's how we got involved in the sport. It was a great way for us to get outside of work and relax in the environment and enjoy our animals. Meanwhile, we could keep our careers going. So it was what we needed at the time.
And so you've been married 40 years. So all that togetherness, did that strengthen your marriage? Did that bind you closer together? Did you ever have any problems with your dog, my dog, and how they're behaving or anything like that?
All of the above. Of course we did. Marriage goes through its ups and downs, but the point is we both found we like the same thing. So in the end result, it all worked out, and it gave us such a rich life of having the animals. And during that period, we also adopted our first son, and then I immediately got pregnant and had two more, and life goes on.
Excellent. Wow, wow. So what did you learn when you got into the sled? Is it sled dog or dog sledding? Is there a order that goes in so I can
In
say
no
it?
way.
Hmm? Like what?
Well, dog sledding. Let's go with that one.
Dog sledding. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, because I don't want to say it wrong.
Uh, well, the thing about dog sledding is that the animals are really athletes. So you treat them like athletes. You feed them well. You pamper them a little bit by giving them nice place, a safe place to live, and take care of them. They need to be exercised because that's what they enjoy doing. And you learn how to take care of them. You learn the right equipment. It's a little bit expensive. It did take an investment to get all the gear and the truck to be able to transport them. But it got us outside, and then you get out in that trail with just your dog and your sled, and there's nothing around but snow and hills, and there's nothing more exhilarating. And you're connected with the dogs. What's really neat, would you ever like to have someone go out and scout the trail for you before you get there? No. Isn't that a great thing? Well,
Yes.
that's what happens with the dogs because they're out there in front of you. You're leading, you're in the back. They're
Mm.
actually doing a lot of leading, and they're doing a lot of thinking and a lot of planning. And they have their senses out there, and they can instinctually tell you what's ahead. They smell, they hear. You can watch their ears turn, the tails go up, and you sense something's coming, and they're alerting you to it. So you're prepared for a change or for something to happen. I wish I had that every day at work. It would be really nice.
Exactly. That would be nice. And we've heard of servant leadership, so I guess it's kind of parallel to that, to where they're
Good analogy.
leading the way, you're in the back, and but there's no question who the leader is.
Oh, I give the commands. They obey the commands. The way they obey the commands is really dependent upon the dog and its place in the trail. They know what to do. You can see them sometimes thinking about it, but they'll do what's best and what they were trained to do, and they work as a unit. They don't work separately. There are relationships. There's some dogs that can't work next to other dogs, just like people. There are other dogs who don't want to be on a sled. You have to test the dog to see if it wants to be on a dog team. Not want to see if it runs. You have to learn what that dog's like, just like when you hire somebody in an office or at a factory. You have to get to know that person, see what's best for them. Where are they going to excel, and how are they going to accomplish whatever task you set for them? So you learn a lot about the dogs, and just as you learn a lot about people, we all get along differently and have our own needs.
That is so true. That is very true, and especially in a corporate workplace. And you know what? Really, in an entrepreneurial setting, it still applies, because there will be people naturally, there's natural leaders, I think. And then I mean, I consider myself a natural follower, even though people have said, no, you're a leader. I don't think so. But I think that the same principles of the dog sledding still apply in whatever situation you're in.
Well, I think you're right. I also think that followers tend to give themselves a little. They don't give them the credit due. Followers get the job done. Followers have pride in their work. And where you're committed to something, you don't need to be the leader to get the job done well and feel good about what you did.
Yeah.
So I think that's a place of honor, not a place of disrespect. And you know what I really am proud about when I put this book together. It's a book of stories. It's
Ooh,
all stories. I just got a nice review from one of the reviewers, and they recommended it as a read. Well, how many business books should get recommended as a read? Because it's all stories. It's stories of case studies that are real case studies from being in business. Anyone who's had a career or is planning a career wants to remember some of those things that occurred or anticipate what could occur. So the case studies are relevant that way, and they're really interesting case studies, fascinating people in the world. And then I have the sled dog tales, which take you out on adventure. And those are analogies of what it's like to work together. And when you think about sled dogs acting, they're so obvious. Their instinct, they're right there. Their mannerisms are very, very obvious, where we tend to hide ours. So by thinking about teamwork and dogs and teamwork and people,
yes.
you sort of learn about each other. Just enjoy the stories, if nothing else.
Yeah, that's great. And there are a lot of parallels between the two. So have you kind of narrowed it down to maybe, can you share the top three parallels between dog sledding and being a good leader?
First of all, it's listening. You know, dogs can get distracted on the trail. They can smell a deer around the corner, and job is to go straight ahead. Well, you've got somebody who maybe likes to play computer games in the office or just has a buddy they like talking to, so they can easily get distracted. So yes, staying on task, listening, and I think being committed to that end result is important.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Now, this is one question that I know I've struggled with as a solopreneur, and I'm sure there's others out there that have as well. But how do you avoid loneliness on the job or as a solopreneur, and how to become connected to win?
Boy, you really came up with a wonderful question, and that is such an important. So many articles on loneliness. It's something that should not exist. We can't let ourselves get trapped by loneliness. And the way out of that is, of course, to be connected. I've found that people at work who are quiet and reserved and can't connect, I often get them involved in something outside of work first.
Oh,
Like there is one person who is very, very shy, and he got involved with buying artwork for his office. He really brightens things up. Well, he then introduced his hobby of purchasing art that he then extended to his home to his coworkers, and it gave them something to talk about outside of work. So by making that connection with something he brought into the office, it helped him with his daily connections with them at work. There was more of a rapport. They had another. They saw another side of him, and he was more comfortable opening up. So, if first of all, if you work, it's very important. Do it from the heart. Find something to connect with others that is important to you, and maybe you have to start it outside of work and bring it into work. Have something to share. You know,
yeah.
I think it's not all about us. It's all about them,
Mhm.
right?
How so? Like, give us an example.
All right. You know what the best leader is? The best leader I've ever worked with. And this man, I just adore. He's a phenomenal leader. When he has someone come into his office, the first thing he thinks about is, what can I do for them?
Oh,
Doesn't matter if they're uh, administrative staff, a temporary worker, or somebody he's been working with for 20 years.
mhm.
What can I do for them? And you think about that's what happens when a friend walks into your house. How can I make this friend comfortable? The same thing happens in the work environment. How can I make their life a little better? What can I do to support them? Which means you have to find out, which means you have to ask questions. You have to engage them, get to know who they are. And there's your key right there. Once you're comfortable enough to ask them questions and find out how you can support them, those relationships start building. And that's the only way we can combat loneliness, by connecting with others, by giving rather than waiting for someone to reach out to us. And it takes a lot of guts, chutzpah, right? Or whatever word you want. Strength, power, vulnerability, allowing yourself to get out there and open the door first. And that means taking that deep breath. On the inhale, air to the brain physiologically calms you down. On the out breath, ask a question, get to know them, something about them. It's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy. It's easier if you find a topic you're comfortable with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally resonate with that because when I was in the working world, one of the best bosses I ever had would take a few minutes on Monday morning. We were both Dallas Cowboy fans. So we would just, during football season, we would just spend some time talking about the Cowboys and the game. And it just set a really nice tone. But I supported a sales team of maybe 7 or 8 people. And he would take us for team building activities to an indoor racetrack. And that was so fun. And it wasn't like, fierce competitor stuff. It was just having fun. It's just by coincidence that he and I ended up the #1 winners of the 2 teams, but that wasn't planned. But I'm aggressive when I get behind the wheel. It doesn't matter if I'm on an indoor track or wherever. But that was just so fun. And the team came back and they were so motivated to do good for him, to increase the sales numbers. So I think he showed an interest in the people, just as you're saying. And he would put me in uncomfortable situations just outside of my comfort zone, but he would be right there to undergird and to support me, not hover over me, but just to support me. And man, I'd always say he was the best boss I've ever had. So I totally resonate with that of finding outside interest.
I bet you had a friend like that, have friends like that too. Friends who care, and we don't think about how they're doing it structurally because it's more natural because we're already friends.
Yes.
We're not one-sided. We're not just a salesperson or an admin or a business leader. We have joys that come together, and we need to be seen as a whole person. That's why much attention you play to the concept of work-life balance. I have totally given up on work-life balance. It is so outdated. And I'm really helping people to think about work-life integration, which I like to use harmony instead. I like work.
Yes, me too.
It's a much more comfortable word. And that I think is part of the answer of loneliness, finding that harmony in your life, that joy. And the thing that occurred with this book that I don't know if you're aware of, when I first sent it out for someone to read it, and it's some of these case studies, phenomenal people stuck in really miserable situations, and they survived. And sometimes the sled dog events, they were a little bit hairy and scary, and they survived, and everyone's healthy. And what we need to remember is that risk is necessary. You have to take risks, chances to grow, and that we want to have an opportunity to find the joy in life. And I had a situation with my family, and it was very upsetting. And as I was paying attention to how that issue with my family was affecting me, until the book was published, and my first reader read it and said, "There is joy in this book. There's so much joy. These stories are not happy stories, but they end up happy. People find their way, and it's inspiring." So that's my motto now. Be inspired and inspiring.
Yeah, absolutely. Because life is too short not to,
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I am determined to not be one of those, and I'm sure we've all come across them, bitter, angry, older people that just gripe and complain about everything. I know we're going to gripe and complain. We have periods of that or situations. I get that. But just an unhappy, crotchety, older person that just like, no, that cannot happen. And that finding
Oh,
joy.
I know. Yeah. Yeah, you need the joy. But I know some unhappy younger people too. We
Yeah.
get those cycles, and we got to break those cycles. We have to take care of ourselves. Oh, and that means sharing. That means being connected with others and finding something that's special for you. Like right now, if you like friend of mine or a friend of mine, my client who's an artist, or whatever brings you that satisfaction. Reading a book, read my book, you'll get happy. Uh,
Absolutely. And on the book subject, you talk about there's a dog sledding commands on by, where you
yes.
shout on by. What does that have to do with life, career, success, joy, all the things you're talking about? What is that?
All right. Well, on by is the formal command that when you're on your team and there's a team ahead of you and you've got one trail, you shout on by and inform the team driver of the other team that you're coming, that you're going to pass his team. You're also giving that cue to the lead dog that now's the time to get off the trail and pass the team. And I learned that hard way. So I use that as a title for the book because I think we all have obstacles we can go on by.
Ooh, that's so good. Yes, yes. What defines someone as a leader?
Magnificent. I think that's the best one.
Yeah, that is true. And there's a term here that I want you to talk more about: executive presence. What when I think of that, I think of, you know, a pose, like an executive, like a portrait of a leader, like, you know.
Yeah.
So how do I know when I have it, and how do I get it? And first, what is it?
Okay. Susan Scott has a great quote. When you leave the room, your image what image do you want to leave behind when you leave the room? That's what your executive presence is. It's who you are, how you behave and react with other people. It's not necessarily the clothes you're wearing or something you said. It's that relationship. It's that feeling of confidence people have in you. They know that you're vulnerable. You can get hurt just like they can get hurt, and they know that you have pride, and they know your values. When I work with executives who are successful,
Mhm.
first thing I help them to do is understand their own value system and be able to put it into words so they're able to share it. If you're a leader, if you're a grandparent, if you're a parent, if you're a teacher, your values are going to others will emulate, because if you're a leader, you're a role model and a mentor. And what are people following about you? They're following what you do and how you do it. That goes back to your value system. So a leader has values. Executive presence is living true to your values, being able to bring others into your world and recognize and respect them. I think that's the best definition of executive presence I can offer.
That is excellent. Yeah, and I like that it's what you leave when you leave a room. You know,
Yeah.
are people impacted? Are they influenced by what you said, your presence, how you made them feel?
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
Susan Scott's a great author. If you need any pick me up too for on how to communicate, go to her. She's got some good work.
Okay. Okay. Now talk a little bit about your book. What can readers who go to Amazon, and we're going to leave all of these links in the show notes,
Oh, thank
what
you.
can readers expect when they finish the last page?
I hope they're inspired. I
Mhm.
hope they learned what others did in difficult situations. You know, we're storytellers. We learn around the campfire. So by reading these stories of what others went through, and some of them are quite harrowing,
Mm.
and they survived them and they excelled, probably because they allow themselves to grow from those situations. So I hope they read the stories and get themselves inspired, because once you're inspired, you inspire other people. So that's my goal for the stories. And the dog sledding, I think, helps bring in nature and instinct, because I think we do function a lot by instinct. I also have sections there where I'm quoting subject matter experts. So if there's one particular issue that you're not feeling comfortable about, and one book will never solve that, it leads you to other authors that have other expertise. And I have tasks for you in that book. Every chapter has a task. One of the tasks is to figure out where you would be if you were a dog on a sled dog team. Would
Ooh,
you be a wheel dog or a lead dog? Would you be the point dog? Each dog has its own role. Where would you be on a team? And it's just been fascinating to find out where people. I've gotten so many notes back on that. One lady said, "I'm a wheel dog. You know, that means I'm the back and I pull the heavy weight. You know, I'm kind of proud to do that because I keep things moving. Isn't it nice? Yeah, you get self-respect when you see what you're doing and you are able to explain it with pride to others."
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that. And when I get it, it's kind of in my Amazon cart. I don't order every day. I don't know if anybody orders every day, but I'll figure out what kind of dog, which one I am. So,
Oh, and
but
if you buy a book on Amazon, please review it. I love feedback. I love to see. Don't you like seeing the people who write the reviews? That's always fun. Yeah, you might
yes,
as well enjoy it. If you're going to do something, enjoy doing it.
yes, and take a picture of yourself with the
Yes.
book and post that with your
Okay.
review, because that really helps Amazon's algorithms
Oh,
know what's gathering interest. So take a picture, with the book kind of over here.
or with your pet and your
Yes. Yes.
that's
Especially if
it.
you have husky or sled dog.
Any pet will do. Kitty cats are just as lovable. Rabbits, pigs.
Okay.
If you love it, it's worth giving a hug to.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to kind of wrap up, and I have two final questions. One is, I know you're a coach, and so why do people need coaching? Why can't they read a book and just get everything they need? Why should they invest in coaching?
We're all different, right? We're all unique. And because I've coached so many people, I've trained 6,000 corporate executives globally. I've been involved in helping many executives move up. I've seen what they've been through. I can offer their stories. You won't be able to meet as many people as I've met in the time you need. So I can share their stories with you. I can also share my training. I've got a lot of years in graduate school, a lot of psych training, a lot of communications training. I can share that with you too. And the people I coach are already, oh, I have the best. I am so fortunate. I have the best clients. They're bright people and they want to go further and they want to know, how can I do this? How can I be everything I want to be? What's missing? Because nobody's perfect. And you can't always see those little areas that could be better. And understanding how you can bring them. People have moved up so quickly. I'm so proud of every one of my clients. I don't take everybody. I take maybe 3 out of 5 people who apply because I'm looking for people who understand their values. If they recognize who they are and what they want to be for themselves and they're proud of themselves, that's a client. That's somebody I want to work with.
Yeah, exactly. And in our interaction, you have been so gracious and positive with your words. And I have really, really appreciated that, because not everybody is like that. And I just want to express my appreciation because you are very gracious with your words. And I'm sure you have to deliver some hard words, maybe sometimes, to your clients, that maybe you've started working with them and they're not doing their assignments, so they've lost interest, they're not into it, but they're still paying. How do you deal with that?
Oh, we'll stop the campaign. We'll stop the coaching until they're ready. They have to want to. I'm not going to tell them to do it.
Good.
I do never give an assignment or follow up on it. They have to want to do it. I will stop it. There's no way. There is one thing I'd really like to ask you about. I am donating a percentage of my book sales to the Osteogenesis Foundation. May I bring that up and why I'm doing that?
Please do. And I'm glad you said that, because it wasn't in my, it's a link in the show notes, but please bring it up and let people be aware of what it is and your personal experience with it.
Well, when I started writing this book, my grandson had just turned 2. Everything was going beautifully. And then we discovered, we knew he had it, but we didn't know the depth of it. He has osteogenesis imperfecta, type 1, which means he has brittle bones. He breaks. And you know what 2-year-olds are like. They're active and all over the place. During his 2nd year of life, he broke 5 bones, including his femur, which required that he be in a full body cast for 3 months. Do you know what a 2-year-old is like in a full body cast and can't move for 3 months? It was horrible, horrible, horrible. So as I'm writing the book, I'm up nights worrying about him, of course,
Mhm.
where that joy seeped in I was telling you about. Because watching him, everything he went through, he was still exuding love and joy. He was so proud of it and so eager that I included sections in the book on mental health. I included sections on from experts on how to work through tough spots because I saw it in him. And I saw how when you want to succeed at something, you'll do it. You may need the right resources to help you. So those resources are in the book.
Mhm.
Osteogenesis imperfecta Foundation is a terrific organization just to bring attention because it's not really known in children, and we need to support it. We need to bring awareness to it to be able to get more funds to be able to find cures. So I hope you'll make a small donation.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll put that link to the foundation in the show notes so you can check it out. And because we think of brittle bones, we think of the elderly. We
Yeah,
don't ever think of kids like children's arthritis, and I used to work for the Arthritis Foundation and they would have camps for these kids and the bags of medicine would be this big. I mean, just huge bags that these kids had to take. So people just like that, people don't think of young
you do.
kids having brittle bones, but
Yeah,
it's rare.
it
It's
is rare. It is a rare disease. Yes,
okay.
but it happened. Well, we don't know where, but it came up.
Yeah. Yeah. That's keeps us human, I guess.
Yes, it
You
does.
know, so my last question to you is what is happening in your life now that is causing you immense joy?
Ah, I had another grandchild, my first girl. I've had 3 sons, and they all have had boys until now. One of them finally had a girl, so we now have a girl in the family, and that's such joy. The best thing about right, the connections, the warmth, the caring, and having a grandchild is just the ultimate way of experiencing that joy. So I'm just thrilled.
Oh, you have to be. Yeah. Yeah. That is really exciting. That's really so it's so joyful to be able to be on the other side of parenting.
Yeah.
Just experience the full blast of youngsters.
Yes, yes, yes. When the diaper needs changing, if they're around, they can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Any parting words you want to leave with viewers?
Uh, I think you'll enjoy it. And then hopefully you'll be inspired and you'll be inspiring so you can give your gift to everyone.
That is wonderful. Yes. And you know what? I want to kind of postscript this. I've been having a freezing problem with my Zoom, with my computer. So if you are watching this and you've been a little frustrated because of the freezing, I hope you can just get through this and take the meat of it without getting all frustrated about the freezing. I'm working on it, okay? Thank
Thank
you, Lucy. Yeah, thank you, Lucille, so much for being here, for taking your time and sharing your stories and your expertise. Really appreciate it.
Oh, it was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And everybody, if you like this episode, like, subscribe, and share with your network. And that helps the algorithm and it just helps everything. So until next time, thank you for watching another episode of Winning Proof Unscripted.